Hello, I am Dave Shaw here with my co-designer Ryan Heilman. We are the creators of Brave Little Belgium, proudly printed by Hollandspiel Games. We're here at the WBC today helping Tom sell his wonderful product line. We are working on our second game, which is White Eagle Defiant, a game on Poland in 1939, beginning of World War II. Hopefully it'll see print by the end of the year. And we just want to say we're having a great time here, and we really appreciate the opportunity to show people our game. This has been No Enemies Here, Wargaming News from WBC. Hello, I am Dave Shaw here with my co-designer Ryan Heilman.
Who is this? Who is this man behind the scenes? Behind David Shaw and Ryan Heilman? This is a mystery. The mystery of mysteries.
Hello, I am Dave Shaw here with my co-designer Ryan Heilman. We are the creators of Brave Little Belgium, proudly printed by Hollandspiel Games. We're here at the WBC today helping Tom sell his wonderful product.
From the video, all we get is a glimpse of the man with the spectacles, as he shall be known. Publishing and Okinawa, a game designed by Arrigo Velikonga. The art is by Ilya Kudryashov. This is a two-player game, recreating the land, sea, and air struggle for the possession of the Japanese island of Okinawa from April to June 1945.
A game for gamers, made by gamers, by Flying Pig Games.
CSL has a pre-order in their Violent Schoolmaster Tactical Series, Great Battles of Lacedaemon. This is a pre-order. Great Battles of Lacedaemon include, Amphipolis or Amphipolis, Coronea, Luectra, and Mantinea. I hope I pronounced one of them right at least. From Nuts Publishing, Saigon 75. Relive the fratricidal struggle between North and South Vietnam from the summer of 1973 to the spring of 1975. This is a 1 to 2 player game and takes about 60 minutes to play, and what you get with this game is a mounted game board, a rulebook in French and English, a playbook in French and English, 20 event cards, 10 solo cards, and a lot more stuff. Also, Battle Magazine's number 13 from Kamachka Publishing. The game included in the number 13 Battles magazine was already published by Ve Victus, called Sheer Butchery Solferino 1859. Go to DVG, use this code, buy any game and get 25% off. That's 25% off US. You know what that is Canadian? That's like $1 million. Alan Dickerson of Stigler fame has a video out. Death Valley Battles for the Shenandoah and Unboxing. This is a game published by GMT. The series designer is Richard H. Berg and the game designer is Greg Lauba. Now, Stigler isn't just an unboxing pro. He's a word pronunciation pro. And don't worry, if you want to learn how to pronounce words properly, you don't have to take any classes. He will get in touch with you. Trust me. GIMPY is reviewing, or I should say he's reviewing throughing, Part 2 of Ancient Civilizations of the Inner Sea. Game designed by Mark McLaughlin and Chris Vorder Bruges, published by GMT. You know, reviewing throughing. That's the way my brain works. I mean, someone commented on last week's episode where I called the city, the Vietnam city of Hue, I called it Hue. Look, that's the way I read it. That's the way my brain works. I know it's called Hue, but it's called Hue. So GIMPY is reviewing through ink. We're talking about these mispronunciations. Like once I read the word evil, and I was just reading and it came out evil. You know, I dated a girl called Evil once, or maybe that's what she was, whatever. But you know, don't let Kevin Sharp don't let him know that I called the city of Hue, because he's gonna have a field day. He's gonna rip me apart. And talking about Kevin Sharp, here we go. You wanna know what's happening on the big board? I'll tell you what's happening on the big board. Kevin, big man, CEO, dictator for life of his small island. Whatever his wife calls it. But anyways, he's giving you a easier way to get into Lock and Load Publishing's Days of Hero, as the game is pretty accessible itself. But Kevin, with all his experience in wargaming, helps you out. Check him out, big man. Also, Kevin has another video out entitled First Activations or So, Learning as We Go, the BCS system from MMP. JK Wargames unboxes Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team starter set, skirmish combat in the 41st millennium. MAURO Arnaldo checks out a sci-fi wargame called Aegis, combining robot strategy games. Rough Swordsman Wargamer takes an unboxing look at Crossing the Line, Aachen, 1944, an unboxing. Designed by Dirk Blenneman, published by Banana Games or Führer Teutonic Games, or Führer Teutonicus Games. Also, the Rough Swordsman Wargamer continues his new to solo wargaming. Try Pavlov's House. Order number 227 part 6, a playthrough of DVG's Pavlov's House, a game designed by David Thompson. ARDWULF of ARDWULF'S LAIR is reporting on the first 2 days of the Buckeye Game Fest happening in Columbus, Ohio. Cody of the Discriminating Gamer is celebrating his 10,000 subscribers in the 10,000 subscribers spectacular.
Hey guys, Dave here. Welcome to Centurion's review, the punk rock band of wargame review institutions. The first game we'll be doing a review of is New Schwabenland on our website. Essentially, it's a game about the Germans in Antarctica around 1938, and they find some alien worms, and they have all sorts of conflicts and battles between them. It's really neat, and also there's 6 scenarios in the game, so there's quite a bit of replayability. Speaking of scenarios, we'll be doing a playthrough of Scenario 3 of this game on YouTube this week also. On our YouTube channel, we'll also be doing a first look at Mud, Blood, and Steel from High Flying Dice Games. It's a game about a battle during the Iran-Iraq War, so it looks pretty interesting. Hope to see you guys soon on our website and on our YouTube channel. Have a good evening.
Charles Cab and Charlotte area Historical Gaming is unboxing Wings of Glory game tripods and triplanes. Little War TV guys have actually Dr. John Prados discussing what if the Americans lost Omaha Beach. Chief of Bonding with Board Games is taking a look, reviewing I should say, of Command and Colors Medieval from GMT, a game designed by Richard Borg, published by GMT, as I said before. Rob Orr, the strongman of War Games, went on a blitz of wargaming videos. The first one being War and Pieces, the complete book of wargaming. I used to have that book, but unfortunately I lost it. The next video is Rob Plays Dawn of the Zeds Director's Cut 3rd edition, designed by Herman Lettman. Also plays Undaunted Normandy. Live, a game designed by David Townsend and Trevor Benjamin, published by Osprey Games, and also finishes off with Refreshing the Rules of Old School Tactical Volume 2 Live, a game published by Flying Pig Games, designed by Shane Logan. The man famously known as Calandale, Enrico Viglino, continues his playthrough of Vietnam 1965 to 1975. He is in the fall of 1966. This is a game designed by Nick Karp, published by Victory Games. BLASTPOP takes a look at C3I issue 32 and an after-action report of the Battle of Bouvin, the French Anglo War in the year 1213 to 1214. This is a game designed by Tom Russell for table battles. BLASTPOP also unboxes Roads to Moscow, published by GMT and designed by Vance von Boris. Mo of Mo's Game Table takes a look at Dien Bien Phu, the final gamble from Legion War Games, a game, published by Legion War Games, designed by Kim Kanger, as we would say here, but I'm sure it's said Kanger. Kim Kanger. Lock and Load Publishing has GIMPY doing the World at War 85 core rules set. In here, he checks out Direct Fire Basics, Combat Results 1 and 2, and Direct Fire Example. The Professor Riccardo Masini in Vlog 32 gives us an introduction to the system, to the coin system, in Italian. The Wargamer has 7 videos out on Hurtgen, Hell's Forest, the Battle for Aachen, and this starting with an intro to the game of Scenario 1. Liz Davidson of Beyond Solitaire is showing us how to solo Donning the Purple, published by Tompet Games. The gentlemen of the Player's Aid, Alexander and Grant, are interviewing Joe Chacon and Tom Holland on their game The Greatest Day, going to be published by MMP. I actually met Joe Chacon and Tom Holland. Super nice guys. And I was looking at the game and it's insane how huge that game is. That's all. Okay, I'm here with Michael Tan. Who's Michael Tan?
I am.
And he had a game called
Storm Europa.
And he has a game now called
Storm over Europe.
So, look.
They're one and the same.
I saw this game somewhere on the net a year, 2 years ago, but I know about it. So, first of all, what is this game?
So, Storm Europa, aka Storm over Europe,
Okay.
is a World War II grand strategy game. It encompasses the European theater only, and it pretty much covers the whole war from 39 to 45. And the thing that is unique and different about this game, compared to the other dozens, if not hundreds, of games that cover the same exact topic, is that this game uses very innovative mechanics. It borrows very heavily from a lot of Euro games that I've played over the last 10 years or so. So, in many ways, it looks and feels like a Euro.
So, give me a short example of one of your favorite mechanics of this game in the Euro mechanic style.
Sure. So, everything that you do in terms of your difficult decision making is done simultaneously. All 4 players, or 3 or 4 players, act simultaneously. You've got this player aid in front of you, which is sort of like a tableau that you might see in a typical Euro game, where you follow the same mechanical process turn after turn after turn. You collect your resources, which are colored cubes. We've got white manpower, we've got gray ore, and we've got black oil. You collect your resources, you build units with spending the cubes, then you choose what actions you're going to perform during the turn by playing tiles. The tiles, there's some that you own at the beginning of the game, There are other tiles that you can draft, so it's in some regards it's a little bit of a deck builder.
Okay, so some of these tiles are not available because of certain
restrictions.
Okay,
yeah,
and certain years. Right?
Yes, exactly. It's not specifically years, but that's typically how it plays out.
Okay.
These tiles are restricted, and you cannot draft them unless your war status is at a certain level. There's three different levels of war status. There's peace, which is what everybody starts off at as peace. There's limited war, and there's total war. That's actually a pretty common three status level you're going to see in a lot of grand strategic games. First time I ever saw something like that was in a game called Paths of Glory, which is
Ted Racer's game.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah.
I really borrow heavily from one of the concepts in that game, which is that you start with not so great tiles, and you're trying to thin your deck, so to speak, to get to the better tiles later in the game.
Deck
So
building
it's absolutely. So you spend these cubes to collect resources, you build units with the cubes, you play tiles by spending cubes, you also draft new tiles by spending cubes. So everything that's done on this player aid is with the cubes. The only thing you do on here is you spend cubes. Everybody does that simultaneously, so there's very little downtime. So
This is what, 1 to 4 player game?
1 to 5 player. Yeah,
And it solos very well?
It solos well. It's best with 3 because it's a 3-sided game, similar to Triumph and Tragedy is another game which followed this same.
That's Greg Bissink, okay.
Yep. So the 3 powers are the Axis powers, the Western Allies, and the Soviets.
Okay.
The Soviets and the Western Allies tend to cooperate to some extent, but they are definitely not allies, and there's only one winner to the game. So even though Germany may be defeated by the Western Allies, it also doesn't necessarily mean the Western Allies won the game just because they captured Berlin. There's only one winner. So if quote unquote, in the historical actual game, if we were to play this out exactly as history, I would say that the Soviets won this game. In other words, real life World War II. If you count up the victory points in my game, and you mirror exactly what happened in real life,
just because of sheer numbers of
they won a narrow victory because they captured Berlin. What it really comes down to in many games, the power, if it comes down to the Western Allies versus the Soviets, it's a race to Berlin. Usually the one who captures Berlin is going to win the game. But there are so many other factors that go into it that that's not necessarily a guarantee. The other thing that happens is this game is meant to be simulation. It's not meant to be, it is somewhat of a sandbox game.
Okay.
But it's meant to be a simulation in the regard that I feel personally that Germany never realistically had a chance of winning the war outright. So if a player does that,
like if Germany wins,
just wins the game outright, as in conquers London, conquers Moscow, wins World War II. That's very unlikely. That is very unlikely because I don't think that was a likely outcome. If you look at the economics, the underlying economics behind the great powers at the time, the United States was simply too powerful.
So why would someone want to play Germany knowing that they're going to get their butts handed?
Because late in the game, Germany can score victory points simply by staying alive. All you have to do is stay alive and you score victory points.
Okay.
That's one of the mechanics in the game. Because the game is not trying to decide whether or not you won World War II outright. It's really gauging how you did relative to your historical counterpart.
Okay.
So if Germany does better than the historical counterpart, you're probably going to win the game.
Okay.
Unless, of course, the Western Allied player does even better than their historical counterpart.
All right.
So it's really not a game. It's really not a game about can Germany win World War II. The question, really, if you're a German player, is can you do better than Germany did?
Right.
And if you do that, you're probably going to win the game.
And what complexity? On 1 to 10?
I'd say 6.
Okay.
I think that the rules are very easy to learn, but there's a lot of complexity in the game system in terms of mastering it. It's easy to learn, difficult to master. I know that's a phrase that people throw around all the time.
I know.
But it's a 16-page rulebook.
Seriously?
It's a 16-page rulebook. Yeah. And it's a game that takes 15 hours to play.
Seriously.
So
I mean,
I
it
think
looks huge.
I think just in that alone, 16-page rulebook, 15 hours to play, it should tell you a little bit about where the complexity lies. The complexity does not lie in the game system. It lies in the length of play and the virtually infinite number of strategies that you can come up with. Because with being a deck builder, each power gets to craft what direction they want to go in terms of, do I want to emphasize economics? Do I want to emphasize technology? Do I want to just build a huge army? Do I want to have the best generals? These are all decisions that you as a player get to map out, because the tiles that you draft, you're crafting what your military is going to look like 3-4 years down the road.
And you know, looking at the counters on here, there's not that many counters. It's not very dense.
It's low unit density, absolutely. It's low unit density. This is an army level game, so typically when Germany's fully built out, they've probably got 30 pieces on the board. Soviets probably about the same. The Soviets, the reason why they have about the same number of pieces is because Germany, their pieces are going to be spread out with naval and air, whereas the Soviet player is going to have very little naval. This is going to be an overwhelming concentration of land and air. But yeah, it's about 30 pieces when they're fully built out, so it's not a lot.
Now I see cards there. This is a card-assisted game?
No, not really. The tiles really function the way that people imagine cards to function in, let's say, a card-driven game.
Right.
A lot of the tiles do a lot of the same things that cards do. You activate units with these icons.
Okay.
This here means that you can activate 7 land units, 2 air units, and 2 of them can blitz if they win a battle in 1 round. This is an air marshal,
okay.
So he only activates 3 air.
And what's that little house?
That means it's a home action. It means that you can put it here. Anytime you see a house symbol, it's a home action. What that means is that players have a little bit more control over the timing as to when the tile gets played.
Okay.
And I say that because this game is a chit pull game. What you do is, during the preseason, you choose what tiles you want to play by paying with cubes. Once you paid for them, then you take the tiles, you put them in the draw bag. You pass the bag around. Everybody puts their tiles in the draw bag. Okay. And then the turn starts as soon as one designated player starts pulling the tiles out of the bag.
That person will pick out a tile that will
and if it's
work or not work for you.
Right. And if you own a tile, so if you're this is a German tile. If the German player gets this tile, it's a double-sided tile. You get 2 choices. So this side is for your plan. This is one that says build or deploy one of your improvements. This lets you build up your economy. So if you're going for a long-term strategy, you want to have a better economy. Improvements are these little triangles here. What they do is they let you collect more cubes over the course of the game. This is oil, and it has to go in Vienna. So if I were to use for your plan to build this oil improvement, I have to own Vienna. If I do, I put this tile in Vienna. What it really represents is Germany is developing the oil fields and the synthetic oil factories
give you more resources
in Vienna.
to go on.
And it's going to give them more resources. Exactly. The flip side is this tile is Reichsbahn, which allows them to, this says each land activation activates 2 units if they both move by rail. This is a special tile, which is, we call it a bonus tile. If you put this in your home action spot, it occupies a space. You have only a limited number of home actions. If this tile is sitting as a home action, this is a persistent ability, which means it's ongoing all the time, which is each time I do a land activation with one of these units, I can activate 2 units with each of these activations if both of them move by rail. Okay. So what this tile abstractly represents is that you're dedicating a lot of resources to the rail system in Germany. You're going to be able to rail around units very efficiently. Okay. You can't use it for attacks because it says each time you do a land activation of 2 units, they both have to move by rail. Okay. So if Germany's in a strategic situation where they need to rail around a lot of units, they may want to put this as a home action because it's going to allow them to do that more efficiently. Right. And that's just an example.
Now, how long has this game been happening in your head?
12 years. And it started as a card-driven block game.
Seriously?
Yeah, block game as in like Columbia style, and it originally was card-driven, sort of the Mark Herman Twilight Struggle style. That was a pretty good game. In some ways, it was a different game. It took too long to play, and I also thought that the interaction between the various types of blocks got a bit complicated. I think that I'm really a big fan of Columbia-style block games, but I think they work best when they're relatively simple and they're operational. Sort of like Hammer of the Scots or Julius Caesar. Those are two games I really like. What I found personally in my own designs, as well as other games I've played, you start introducing economics, air, naval, all these different dimensions and all these different things going on. It starts to get complicated and convoluted, and you lose some of the beauty of those really simple, elegant Columbia block games. So I tried for years to make the block game version of this work in a time frame that I thought was playable, meaning like under 30 hours, let's say, and I just couldn't do it. I always ended up with something like Eurofront, which is a Craig Brissink game. It's a great game, but honestly it takes between 50 and 100 hours to play. And I never play it anymore because I just don't have the time.
I understand.
So I wanted a game that had a lot of that feel, but the playing time was one really long marathon day or one weekend. Not multiple weekends over 6 months, which I just don't have the time for anymore.
The map's beautiful.
Thank you.
And is this close to finishing, or are you going to develop it some more? Is it going to change?
Almost completely done. The only thing that, the only tweaks that I'm making at this point, some of the fonts maybe a little too small, make them a little bit more readable, make little tweaks here and there, but it's at this point it's all aesthetic changes. The core design of the game has not changed in almost a year.
Has any publishing house been interested in
Several, yeah. I mean, I've been approached by several companies. I actually already made an announcement on BGG that there's a major publication event is going to occur. I am about to finalize a deal with the publisher. I've just, at this time, they've asked me not to disclose any of the details. But there's, the game's going to be on Kickstarter very soon.
Now, you said 12 years in development, right? Have you been holding back from actually saying yes to the publisher?
For a long time. Because I'm a consummate perfectionist. I'm my own worst enemy.
And I was going to say that's
my own worst. Absolutely. I actually, Ken from Compass Games said to me a couple months ago, it was really ironic. He said, Michael, he said, I met you X years ago at WBC, and if you had just published that game then with me, this could be a whole new game. Because it's not blocks, it's not cards. He's like, just publish the thing. He's like, whether I publish it or not, he's like, I'm so interested in this game, I just want to play it. So
you're gonna have to let go of the baby. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And,
well, he helped me get off the snide, so to speak, a little bit, because those words really rang true to me when he said that.
Of course. Now, Fog of War. You were gonna build it.
Absolutely.
Because of the chip pool system.
Yeah, the chip pool system introduces a lot of Fog of War. The other thing, we're not playing with it right now. This demo version, we're not playing with the game will come with player screens. So people don't know exactly how many resources you have. They don't know the extent of your force pool. They don't know what units you're building. They don't know what tiles you're playing and drafting. All of that information is secret. And because of the chip pool, there's a tremendous amount of Fog of War. Because you yourself, if you're the Soviets, you don't even know what you're going to do this next turn. You have some idea because you know what tiles you put in there, but you don't know if they're going to come out, and you don't know when they're going to come out. And so, one of the reasons why this home action spot is so important is because it gives the player some measure of control over the chip pool, because we don't want it to be too random. We want people to feel like the game is playing them. We still want the player to feel like they're playing the game. The importance of the home action spot is if a Soviet tile were to come out of the bag, you can at any time say, put that tile back in the bag, I want to play this home action. So that gives you some control. The other thing which is nice is that every power has what we call a Supreme HQ tile, which has a special ability called Preempt. I don't see it here, so I'm just going to show you one that has that capability. This little arrow down here shows that this is a Preempt tile. So that is a home action, but on top of that, because it's got that arrow there, not only can you preempt your own tile, but you can preempt anybody's tile.
And
that could be
significant.
Yes, that's a preempt priority number.
Okay.
The reason why we have that number there is, let's say a German tile comes out,
Yeah.
and the British player says, "Oh, I want to preempt," and then the Soviet player says, "Oh, I want to preempt," and then the Italian player says, "Oh, I want to preempt." All three guys are now committed to preempting because they said they're doing it. What we do now is we compare the number, the preempt number.
Highest
Whoever
number
has the
goes-
lowest number
Okay.
goes first.
Okay.
Highest number goes last.
All right.
There's never any ties.
All right. And setup, how long does it take to set up?
Experienced players takes about 20 to 30 minutes. One of the reasons why setup is so quick is because on these little wooden blocks, the starting location of each unit is printed on the bottom.
Okay.
So you don't have to sit there looking at some confusing spreadsheet that is saying, you know, one infantry here. All you got to do is pick up the piece, and it's going to tell you exactly where you put it on the map. Now that's only true of 1939. I'm trying to devise a way so that I can cram multiple setups on the back without it sort of becoming information overload. But at least for the 1939 game, the starting location of every unit is pre-printed on the back of it.
You know, it looks really elegant.
Thank you.
And when you weren't here, when I was coming in and setting up, you had guys playing with you. These guys were all in the back of playing this game. They were all like, this is a great game. This is a great game.
Thank you.
And you've been playing since when? Since this morning? Since 9?
Yeah.
And will the game end today?
It probably will not. We didn't really start till about 11 because we three guys who've never played before. We do a lot of kibitzing and table talk, and it's a learning game, so there's a lot of stuff that's done really deliberately in open book. Once you get going, though, you know, the shorter turns take about 15 minutes to play a 3-month season.
Okay.
The longer turns, the one that I always use, probably the single longest turn in the game is the Summer 41 turn, assuming that you're following historical, which you absolutely don't have to do. But the Summer 41 turn, if Germany launches Barbarossa, that turn usually all by itself takes a little over an hour.
And is there a lot of dead time?
Not really, no. The reason why there's not a lot of dead time is because once your tile's in the bag, you're sitting here constantly anticipating, is my tile next? Is my tile next? And if it doesn't come, and your opponent does something, now you start thinking about, okay, now that he did that, when my tile comes up, my strategy may have to change a little bit.
Okay.
So no, I wouldn't say there's much downtime.
Is there anything that you'd like to add, like that's important to this interview here?
Not really.
I didn't miss anything?
Not too much.
Like, is there a specific thing that you'd like to say, you know,
Yeah.
mechanically or, you know, aesthetically?
So my goal with this game, which I hope I have achieved, is that this is really intended to be that 60-hour game that people can really play in 15 hours.
Really, eh?
Yeah, and so
would you call this a monster game?
kind of, except for that it doesn't take as long. But for me, it's intended to scratch the itch of World in Flames, Eurofront, World at War.
These are huge games.
I know,
man.
I know. It's not Axis and Allies, and it's not even Cataclysm or Triumph and Tragedy. It's certainly a couple levels above those in terms of complexity. There's a lot of operational elements in this game. It's also the full boat. It's got diplomacy, it's got technology, it's got intel, it's got economics, it's got maneuver. It's the whole 9 yards.
Really,
if you want the whole war, 15 hours, that's my goal.
Man, there's really not a lot of counters for everything you just said. That's incredible. And will the map be this size, or you're looking at?
We're going to shrink it down a tiny bit. This map here is 36 inches by 48 inches.
It's a beautiful map.
We're probably going to go something like 30. I think it's 34 by 44 is sort of the standard large board game size. So that's not a lot. We're talking shrinking it down maybe 10%.
Okay.
We find that it's just right. This is just a playtest map, but it's just on the cusp of being too big. So I think we would trim 4 inches off this way, 3 inches off that way. It's not really going to make the map feel that much smaller, but it's going to fit better on a large dining room table.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of big maps. So
it looks beautiful.
We're not going to shrink this down.
You know,
It needs to feel epic. It's World War II, man.
Is this going to be a Kickstarter, or is this going to
Absolutely.
Be? Is it going to be a Kickstarter?
It's going to be Kickstarter.
So you're going to have stretch goals and all that,
For sure.
all that candy and all that.
For sure. Yep, we're already talking about various stretch goals. The game itself is complete and self-contained, and I have no intention of sort of like, I don't know, adding things that don't really belong as Kickstarter stretch goals. Most of the stretch goals are going to be in the direction of more deluxe components. Like we're thinking of, if we can, have a double-sided map, where the backside is going to be a giant version of just the Eastern Front. So for people who really just want to do that two-player Eastern Front, they can just have this mega version of the map. And then if we did that, we'd probably try to sell, if the game does well, then we'd come out with a West Front expansion map that you could add as an add-on, so that you could have that mega map that takes up half the room.
That's cool.
You know, if you like a game, what's wrong with having a giant map, right?
Nothing.
Right. So, and then the other thing that I'd like to explore, the open-ended nature of the tile system means that in some ways it's a little bit like a game like Agricola or a Terraforming Mars, in that you can add tiles and take tiles out of the game and it doesn't break the game, because it's not like there's a carefully balanced deck of 55 cards. Like Twilight Struggle, for instance, one of my favorite games. You can't take 2 or 3 cards out of that game without completely altering the balance of the whole game. Right? The nature of this game, because it's a tile game where you draft the tiles, I can freely design new tiles, offer them as expansion tiles, offer them as Kickstarter stretch tiles, and you can optionally play with them or not, and it doesn't fundamentally change the balance of the game, because it's open-ended in that way.
So you had mentioned Axis and Allies. You said it's not Axis and Allies, but it's a map reminiscent of something like Axis and Allies. Now, like this little airplane shit here. You can offer like real miniature stuff.
Not sure. I like miniatures, but there's this weird sort of bias in the wargame community. People see Axis and Allies plastic pieces, they think the game is Axis and Allies, and it's uncanny, because when I first started demoing this game, I was using Axis and Allies pieces, and sure enough, I was attracting Axis and Allies players.
Really? Okay.
And then I switched to these wooden blocks, and all of a sudden I started attracting, you know, Advanced Third Reich guys, and guys who were playing Unconditional Surrender, and guys who were playing Totalarchy, and that's the crowd that I'm really going after, because this game has that kind of depth.
I understand. So
you're not just. It's not a beer and pretzels game where you're just checking dice.
So no meeples.
No meeples. Though I want to point out, these pieces are generic. So if you like plastic, you can use plastic.
I see. Okay.
And when I say generic, what I mean by that is there are no stats on them. There's no attack factor, there's no defense factor, there's no movement factor. They're just generic pieces.
You know, very elegant, man. Like you said, I don't think it was like this at first thought. Like, no.
This is 12 years later.
So we're looking at close to final, right?
Very, very close. Yeah, I have not worked on the design of this game other than little touch-up things in over a year.
Who's the developer?
Me.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, look, Mike. If there's nothing else, then maybe we can have a beer or something.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, man.
One Small Step Games and Mark McLaughlin's War and Peace. This is a historical game recreating the vast European conflict known as the Napoleonic Wars. And the projected contents of this game is one large mounted map board in two 22 by 34 inch sections, 4 mounted and die-cut full-cut counter sheets, 1 book of rules fully updated and illustrated, a scenario book, a grand campaign book, an operational methods book, 3 panel charts, table folder, 1 force pool display, 2 leader displays, dice, and a game box. Worthington Publishing and Shiloh, April 6th to 7th, 1862. Volume 2 in the Civil War Brigade Battle Series. Refight the Battle of Shiloh with the classic hex and counter game, playable in 3 hours. What you get with this game is a large 22 by 33 inch mounted game board, 4 punched counter sheets, and rulebook and playbook plus 2 10-sided dice and 2 player aids. Draco Ideas has a Kickstarter launching September 17th at 4 p.m. local time. A game called Yo Hey! GIOE is a skirmish game born from the combination of Japanese folkloric mysticism and its heroic deeds, combining die rolling, modular boards, and card management to immerse yourself in battles fought by the warriors of your troops. The one, the only, Harold Buchanan of Harold on Games has his second podcast interview with Brian Train. That is part 2, where he talks about the top 5 or so influential games on insurgency and the development of the Panzooka at Burning Man. And congratulations are in order for Harold Buchanan of Harold on Games. He has a celebration for his 50,000th download. That's a milestone. And congratulations are in order for Harold Buchanan's podcast, Harold on Games, with a 50,000 download celebration. Let's celebrate with Harold. Come on! Game Festival. It's called Historic Kansas City or Historic KC Fest in Kansas City, Overland Park Convention Center, June 26th to the 28th in the year 2020. The San Diego Historical Game Convention, November 8th, 9th, and 10th, 2019 at the Henderly Hotel, 950 Hotel Circle North, San Diego, California. Board Game Geek, BGG, Fall, 20 to 24th of November 2019 at the Hyatt Regency in Dallas, Texas. Another week, another show. Thanks to my new patron, Michael Sunborg. Michael, I hope I pronounced your name right. Please subscribe, like, support this channel. Thank you for watching. And does anybody know this guy here? This guy. Does anybody know this guy? Huh? Do ya? Huh? If you do, well, comment. Come on, talk to me about the guy. I'll see you next week. I just had a conversation with STUKAJOE, and he's telling me what's upcoming. He's got this upcoming, that's going to be doing that. He's got these cards happening, and that playthrough. It's going to be awesome. Now, Cody was kind enough to ask me to do a little congratulations for your 10,000 subscribers, and he asked me to make a, I don't know, denigrate him or make him happy, whatever. All, you know, no holds barred. And anyways, I'm going to play it for you here. But I want to warn you. This is Little Nebelwerfer and Paul. That's what came to my head. And this is what I do in my other life at the Dice Tower. So, I mean, go watch Cody's video, obviously. But this is my segment. And I figured I'd put it up. Cody put it up a few days ago. There should be no harm. And I warned you. Pa, I just got an email from this guy, Scrody. He looks like Phil Collins. Scrody? No, it's Cody. Cody? Does this guy have a YouTube site or something? What's it called? The Scrumpet Gamer. The Scrumpet Gamer? You've been checking out my history links? Wait, let me read it again. He's the He's the Creamy Gamer, Bob! The Creamy Gamer? I don't know what sites you're on, but you get off right now! This guy Cody sounds like a slime ball to me! My dad doesn't like you. He thinks you're a lime ball. Anyways, happy 10,000! Look, I warned you. I don't do these stupidities on this show, and the stupidities usually are at the end. But, you know, because wargaming is serious business. Ask Kevin Sharp, CEO Big Man of the Big Board.